Welcome back, everybody. Hello, Mr. Quarter Black Garrett. How are you today?
I'm doing really well. How are you?
I'm doing well. You know what the most important, uncomfortable part of these podcasts are?
What is it?
The first 5 seconds where you're like, we got to pretend like we haven't been talking for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And
This is the beginning of the show, not 5 minutes ago.
right. No, everyone who's in chat and everyone who will be watching and listening later on, welcome to episode 4 of Ready, Set, Shag. I'm here today with the one and only Quarter Black Garrett. Um, I just wanted to thank you again, sir, for your time. I know you're a busy man these days, but you and I, we were talking pre-show. We've hung out several times,
Yeah.
but like both in real life and online, and played games together. But we've never actually had like a one-on-one conversation. So
We were in a Mexican standoff.
I
Never
know,
had a conversation about it.
I
Just
know, and apparently the smoking man joined too at some point. The FMT smoking
that
man.
was so good. I love that
um,
guy. Cash. It's great.
but before the show, I was starting to tell a story about me doing this show previously, and I wanted to start off because for those who are listening for the first time or who don't really know where this show came from, some time ago I had a show called Casual Creatives, which was just me sitting down with people that I respected who were content creators or artists or writers or painters, and we just talked. And some people I knew from my childhood, and then like 2019 happened, like election time was happening, and yeah,
Not
it
a
was
good time for a lot of people.
it was a really weird time for me. And my best friend who's in a meeting right now, but I told him, you should watch today. I have a lot to thank him for because he was very patient with me back then because I was still in my like weird libtard phase where I was getting mad at
You're
everything.
you're transitioning.
I was, I was in the beginning of my
Yeah.
trans-political phase.
Yes.
Um, and the so he would talk to me all the time about stuff, and I took a break from all of the podcasting stuff because I was my head was so wound up with like what's going on, like what the hell happened to the world,
Yeah.
and I never got back to it. And when I finally got back into the content creation stuff, the ship had sailed, like my audience had sort of dropped off, and I don't know, I was dismayed in a lot of ways. I was just kind of beat up from all the things that were happening. I'm sure you understand where I'm coming from.
Yeah,
Um,
dude. That was the same time where I really was like, I think I'm done doing a political show. I was really like, all right, I think I my gas tank is empty on 100% news politics, and I've got to go do something else. So yeah, it was a transitional time for me as well.
yeah, yeah. 2019, 2020 really messed me up because a lot of people who I thought were my friends were like they were just they were not good people. I mean, I think they're
Yeah,
good people, but they did not treat me very well. Like, when you have someone who's just sitting there like I have a question, and this is confusing to me because a news story says this, but it was actually this.
yeah,
And it was a hard time. But I got to say, like, when I was talking to Carrie last week, one thing we talked about was like you just need a little bit of pain, and not pain and suffering. That's not the right way to put it, but you need obstacles in your way in life, right? To sort of
yeah,
push you through.
absolutely.
And as hard as that time was, and as like upset as I was, I'm 1,000 times better now
That's
because
awesome. Yeah,
I've
you
met
need
like,
that.
yeah,
You need that the low points of a roller coaster to have fun at the top. You know.
yeah.
So yeah. It takes those times. Like I've been through really tough times. Just like financially with the family and like losing a job or like really hating a job that I was in that was actually a pretty good job at the time. Not Louder with Crowder. That's not what I'm talking about. It was a job before Louder with Crowder actually that Louder with Crowder saved me from. It was this like dead end office job that was just soul crushing.
I cannot
And
imagine
then
you in an
to
office.
dude, I I do not work well. I was a great manager. So if those of you out there that don't know, I worked at a movie theater for like since I was 16 till for 10 years. So I don't think I made it a full 10 years. I think I was 25 or so when I left. Um, and I loved it. It was a lot of fun. Didn't pay like anything, but it was a lot of fun. I got all the way up to like projectionist, and I was a manager, and I was a pretty dope manager.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I'd let people do like whatever they want to do, but I was like, make sure that you get your stuff done.
Get your work
like
done.
As long as you don't make me look bad, and you get your stuff done. Any of the time, like you've got time to lean, you got time to clean. No, none of that.
Yeah.
I was like, you lean all you want, just make sure that the stuff is clean.
Right.
That was my work ethic. But I got to the corporate side where I made more money, which was good for the family. Like I was, getting more little me's running around, so I had to make some more money. So I was working in corporate, and it was just like soul crushing work. None of the fun was there.
Yeah.
It was just like it was so bad.
Isn't that it kind of sucks when it
but
seems
then
like
I got to get out of that and went into a totally different direction, and then I was at the peak again, and then it came down again, and then it went back up. I'm on the way up, baby.
That just seems to be the way of things. When you're having fun doing something and like you're enjoying it, you rarely make the money that you want, and then you get so good at what you're doing, and then it seems like, okay, well, here's the promotion, but like now you're going down on the fun scale because it's like it's all rigorous, and it's about the numbers, and it's about your metrics and hitting them. And
I'm lucky enough to now be able to have both.
Yeah.
Where it's something that it's stable for us. We're comfortable with a little bit extra. If we want to have the kids go to like Great Wolf Lodge or some kind of like thing, we don't have to worry about it. And
dude,
I
also
just
do
a fun job.
My brother-in-law was just telling me about Great Wolf Lodge.
Dude, take your kids, man. If you got one close to you, take your kids. It's awesome.
Yeah, well, I think the closest one is in Denver or Colorado, wherever it is in Colorado.
I bet that one's just so cool because the whole thing is like Denver, Colorado themed with like massive trees, and it's like this whole like Rocky Mountain vibe, which is cool in Texas because we don't have any mountains and none of that. So it's like, oh, cool, look at that. I bet they're like, oh yeah, I've seen this a million times. But I bet it looks cool.
Yeah.
If you got kids, you got kids.
Yep.
Take those kids.
Sure do. We have mountains like right here. It was funny on Bay Staff, was it last week or the week before when you guys were doing that 8th grade quiz?
Oh man, don't remember that. That was rough.
They're like, where's the Wasatch Mountains? I'm like, it's right here. It's outside my window.
Like, I know.
They're over there. But I didn't know about the Wasatch Mountains until I moved here. So, I mean, because I was like, oh, those are Rocky Mountains. Like, well, it's the Wasatch Mountains. I'm like, well, it's all the same to me.
Like, they look rocky to me. I don't.
Right. No, it's so my kids might be like, mountains, whatever. But I'm starting to get my older.
But your mountains don't have slides, bro.
This is true. They don't.
They don't have slides and giant buckets that fill full of water that splash on your head. That's a whole different thing.
But yeah, no, I that's a place that I got to check out. I've written down like 3 or 4 things to visit with the kids because they're 5 and 4, so they're much more aware of what's going on now, and like they want to go do things like, oh, Daddy, I want to go to. We actually just did a staycation at a hotel, and now my 4-year-old is asking me, Can we go to a hotel? I want to go to the pool. I'm like, it's expensive, not right now, but we'll go back. And my older boy likes hiking.
I'd say how old is your oldest?
5. He's gonna be 6 in a month.
Okay. So yeah, I would wait until your youngest is 5.
Okay.
And then do something like a Great Wolf Lodge thing, because then they could really like appreciate it and have fun with it. It's like made for that kind of age range.
Okay. All right. Yeah. No, that's good to know, because I mean it's hard throwing a bunch of money at a vacation, hoping that the kids appreciate it. Because I mean, of course, my wife and I would love it, but you can't really enjoy it as much if the kids aren't like
into it. Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean,
you gotta like drag them around and stuff. Like that could suck. Yeah.
Yeah. But no, it's being a parent is a huge balancing act, is it not?
Dude,
I mean,
it's insane.
I just witnessed yours. It's hard. They get to, at a certain age, they're just so self-aware. They know what they want, and they're just gonna get it, whether you like it or not.
Yeah. So my oldest is just turned 12, so we're on our last year of being a child. then they're gonna go into being a teenager, and I could already tell. You could already see the little teenagerisms. Like he's not out in the house most of the time. It's like, hey, where's Tyler? Where is he?
Yeah,
he's in his room, like drawing or watching a video or reading or something.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm getting those vibes already.
It's
like it's cool because I have them like spaced out, so they're at different stages of life. Okay. I have a 1-year-old as my youngest, and then he's just turned 12. So I have like all in between too. So it's like different stages. So it's kind of cool to see them all happening at the same time.
Built-in babysitter too. 12-year-old's like perfect. Like, hey, you babysitter night.
I gotta go to the store.
Yep.
I gotta go to the store and go pick some stuff up. But there's stuff that I did when I was 12 that there's like no way I would let my kid do. Like I was just let out into the country. Like because I lived in it was a suburb, but it was a suburb that they would build that they do this in Texas. They just go out in the middle, like 20 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour out into the country, and they just build like a suburb.
Yep.
It's weird. So we had one, and I lived on the outskirts of that, right next to the creek and all that stuff. And my mom would just let me go out, and I'd just be gone all day long.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'd come back, and it's like, I don't know if I'd do that with my kid. I mean, I feel like I probably should. Got to let go a little bit.
Yeah. I was actually going to ask
scary.
What the hardest part of like parenting has been for you so far. Because I mean, I'm still in the beginning of it, but seeing the phases pass, like their dependencies, like as hard as they are, like it's sad to see it go away where they're not looking for, they don't want to snuggle anymore. Oh no, Daddy, no.
I was literally thinking about that today because my youngest son, he woke up and he was like, crying and whatnot because Mom went out to the store and he was crying. I picked him up and he was like, okay, good. Oh, I'm good. I'm just gonna lay here for a while. He's like totally awake, just laying. And I was just thinking that exact thing is like, he needs that. And my older son, he's like in his room reading a book right now because he's like, I don't need you,
Yeah.
So I think that is one of the hardest things is I mean, it's kind of it's both, right? So I love seeing the fact that he's out doing his own thing. He's interested in his own in his own books and his own life kind of thing, and he's like starting to pick those things up. He's still like dependent a little bit, but he's getting a little bit more freedom, and I love seeing that. But at the same time, it is sad because you're like, he doesn't need me anymore, And I see that with my parents. They do the same things. Like when I go from one stage of life to another one, it's like, oh, they don't need me anymore, which is a good thing. It's like, you did a good job, Yeah. You set them off.
It's a mixed
bag.
Supposed to do. Yeah, it's a mixed bag of things because, I mean, there's that old, like, I mean, I didn't hear it till I was a parent, but it was at some point in your life, your parents put you down and never picked you back up again. And that just
I think
like
about
rips
that
me apart.
all the time, dude. Yeah. I think about that all the time. Like, when is the last time going to be? When is that last time? Yeah. We have a system because my wife like loves to be like super close to the kids. So we have a system of like, they sleep in our bed with us every like once a week or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, hey, he's like 12. Maybe it's time to like, all right, no more.
Yeah.
Or or do we wait for him to be like, I don't want to do this. This is like, I'm a kid. I'm not a kid anymore. When do you wait for that?
But then it's gone forever.
And then it's just.
Well, and it's different too. Like mom's connection and dad's connection are totally.
Because I don't care. I mean, I do care because it's kind of like seeing him go from one thing to another. But like, I would totally be fine with him just never being there again. Right. Like, because it's like a whole other body and he's like really sweaty. I'm like, I don't want that, Yeah. But it's the same thing with all the little kids. Yep. I've got to be the one that like pushes the kids away because my wife is so like, especially with this last one, because it's the last we've planned on having, and we're like, every little thing is like, this is the last time we're gonna see somebody go from crawling to standing. This is the last time, But I have to be the one that's like, okay, it's time to. She doesn't even want to get him a haircut, and he's got like crazy curly hair that's like long and all over the place, and I'm like, it's time to get that haircut. And she's like, I don't want to. I'm like, he needs a haircut though. Like he looks like a wild boy. You should. I don't know if you've seen pictures on Twitter of my kids, but they've never gotten a haircut. I think my older boy, a long way. And they have long blonde hair. Do you see my hair? Where'd you get blonde out of that?
My wife has brown, so I'm thinking the mailman.
As one would, yeah.
No, well, I mean, my uncle has blonde hair. Some of my grandmother's
It's a
family
gene
has,
in there that
yeah,
just
and then
like
I think,
turns on every once in a while.
well, no, I was gonna say my sister in law is blonde, but it's not natural. Um, so they, yeah, there's a little bit of blonde here mixed in. Their hair is starting to darken a little because when I was,
I had a cousin like that. She came out with really blonde hair, and
yeah,
now she has brown hair. It
yeah.
just like changed over like 5 years or something.
Well, that was, I mean, like if you, there's a picture of me going around somewhere in my parents' house, and I was like, I think 3 or 4, maybe five, oldest five,
Mm.
and I had blonde hair, but it obviously quickly went away because I think a year or two
That's
after that,
interesting, man.
I know it's wild, but yeah, they've never gotten a haircut, and I get them ready in the morning, usually pick
Mhm.
them up from school, and brushing their hair, and they're always like complaining, "Ow, daddy, it hurts, it hurts." I'm like,
Do they have
well,
curly hair?
no, it's actually straight, but
My kids have curly hair, dude.
thin.
It's the worst. Oh yeah, so yours are just like really
Yep.
overlapping and getting all
Yeah,
tangled.
exactly. And that's what, doing that, like brushing it every day. They're like, "Dad, this hurts so much." I'm like, "Well, you could get a haircut." And I look over, my wife's like, "Don't you say anything." I'm like, "Oh."
Don't you cut that hair?
I know. They have nice hair. They
Yeah.
always get mistaken for girls though. Like anytime
That's
we're
the
out,
same thing, yeah. I'm like, why
"She's
would
so
be
pretty."
like he's dressed in like blue colors, he's got like a dinosaur on, he's got like
Yep.
little boy things. Like, why do you think he's a girl? I don't get that.
Yeah.
But the problem with mine is he's got this weird like male pattern baldness thing going, where the front half of his hair is like really slow to grow. Like
Yeah.
it was just bald for a long time.
Wow.
And he's the first kid that has been like that. Because my first son, he came out like full head of hair. That was the first thing I saw was his hair. It like whoosh, was there, you know, and like, but him, he's just like bald, and he's got this like. It would be fine if the rest of his hair wasn't crazy, because like the rest of his hair just took off.
Yeah.
But he's got this patch like right here that is just really, really short. So he's got like this George Costanza almost looking like Larry David hair.
Right.
I'm like, dude, let's just even it out. Let's even it all out.
Quarter
so we
month.
can start from there. Yeah.
So I didn't ask this, but I want to ask because I've been asking sort of a philosophical question at the beginning of the streams.
Oh, at the beginning. We're going right
This
into it.
one,
Okay.
this one's new. I just was like thinking of it. I don't know why. It's pretty generic, but again, I respect you. I would like to hear your side of it. It is there a meaning to life? And if
Yes.
so, what is it?
My meaning to life is my like what we've just been talking about for the last 20 minutes. My kids,
Mhm.
like making sure that they are happy and they have everything that they need, but not too much. So they still have something to work for. That would be my meaning, because it's like family in general. I'm very close to my immediate family, my parents and all of my brothers. I have a lot of brothers. I grew up with a ton of brothers, and family's been very like a singular thing for me.
Okay, that makes
Like,
sense.
and I mean, and that kind of goes back to the even detached from me, the sense of procreation and your family unit and protecting that and then protecting you and having and being happy with that unit,
Mhm.
and that's where you bring your joy from, is from that unit, and that's what I think life is all about. Plus Jesus, I love the Christ Lord,
Okay.
which kind of it comes into that whole sphere as well.
Okay.
It's like
Yeah.
if you have this tight relationship, and it kind of bleeds into the rest of your relationships.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. I guess a follow up to that, and just being interested, and I know you're a family man, so
Yeah.
like for me, my kids like saved me. Like, and I mean, they saved me from, I think, leading a life that was a bit more frivolous and out of control. I don't know. Have you had the same experience? Like, what was it like for you when you first found out that you were going to be a dad?
So I found out when I was 18. So I hadn't lived any life yet, really. I was still living with my parents, and I had not gone out really. I remember the first time I left home and went somewhere and didn't tell anybody. Like, I didn't let somebody know. I wasn't like, hey mom, or hey dad, or hey bro. It was just like I went somewhere and I was like, whoa. And that happened when I was 21.
Oh wow.
So like, I went straight from like being close to family to having my own family, and there was like no break connection there. So I didn't have a whole lot. What was the original question?
Like, did your kids save you from
Okay.
anything? Like, how did they change you?
That was what I was going with. That is like, I don't really even know. Like, they literally made me who I am. Like, there was no me really. I mean, there was me, but there wasn't any guidance of like what direction I was going to definitely be going down.
Okay.
It probably I would have, if it wasn't for my wife and my kids, I'd have all kinds of lazy like stuff. I'd have more things in my house. I would not be in the job that I am at right now. Like, I would be very lazy. So if that is the sense that I think you're going with, is like, yeah, my wife saved me for sure.
Yeah.
It's like, now I have somebody that relies on me that I need to take care of. Cause it was pretty much right to, she has, we were both working, but once she had gotten pregnant and she was really motion sick or morning sick the entire time. Mm-hmm. So it was like, now she doesn't work anymore. And I was fine with that. So it was like, I need to take care of you. And that just never stopped, Then it was like, oh, then it was you and then 2 people. And then it was you and then 3 people. And it was like.
That's crazy. Yeah. So I had kids much later. I had kids. My first came when I was 35. So
damn,
on my birthday.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was.
So what?
Fun.
You have double birthdays now?
Mm-hmm.
That's so cool.
Yeah. So
my mom and our birthday is this month. Her birthday is the 22nd. Mine's the 23rd.
Oh,
so
nice.
We were close.
Nice. We're. I think I told this story a couple of weeks ago, but we were about to go out for my birthday. So 2017, Wonder Woman had just come out. So we were going to go to dinner, go see Wonder Woman, and then go bowling. And my wife was like 38 weeks pregnant at the time, but we just want to get out, like it was an okay pregnancy. And she, at the time we were living in a duplex, the best bathroom was up on the 3rd floor, and I'm sitting down waiting for the lady, like you do. And, and all of a sudden, because she has the music on, I hear her screaming from the 3rd floor. I couldn't even like make out what she was saying, but I ran upstairs and she was on the floor with her hips in the air because she had a lot of like extra amniotic fluid.
Oh wow!
So we were going for
like a
natural water birth at first, but after a few,
I always thought about that. I thought that was a good thing to do.
It was cool. Like we would go talk with the midwives and stuff. Mm-hmm. And so during, we still go for the regular checkups with the doctor. But at one of the last ones, they're like, you have a lot of amniotic fluid and we don't know what's going to happen. So we tell the midwife and she's like, listen, what can happen is what's called cord prolapse. The cord comes out first, the baby comes down on top of it because it comes out with all the fluid. Yeah. And then the baby could die. There's nothing we can do.
We could get wrapped around and there's just nothing you can do about it.
Right. Wow. So her water breaks upstairs in like cartoon fashion, like
the worst, like the 3rd floor, you got to get down now. And
so it was, we so she's had her hips up in the air because she's trying to make sure that nothing comes out. Right.
Yeah.
Keep it all in. Then we got to go through.
She's like,
oh. Yeah. And this is at 4:45 on a Friday, I think, which in Connecticut at the time, we were living in Connecticut. We had to drive through Hartford, downtown Hartford, which is a nightmare. And my wife's like, can you just
You're riding on like the sidewalks and stuff.
Yeah. That's what she was like. Can you just go on the side? I'm like, But there was an ambulance, I think, that went by, and I think we like skirted like a quarter.
Oh, nice. You were able to.
Yeah. But it was, oh, dude, it was nuts. And we always joke like, oh, he ruined my birthday, but truly he blessed me with like the best birthday present ever.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But no, it was. I mean, I get in the same situation you're saying. Like my wife probably saved me, but my kids were just like, my wife and I were having a lot of fun together, and we were always going out, and we were spending a lot of money each month, like just
because you can. You're just like, hey, let's have fun. But, you lived a whole adult life before you had kids.
Yeah, it's weird when you come across someone who doesn't have that. And actually, a lot of people in Utah here, they usually get married right after high school, like 18, and then have kids within that year.
It's like a very conservative, like you high school, and you get married and you have kids, and then I think my grandparents were that way too. Like they get married right out of high school, and we just did it because it just happened that way. It happened to work out in that weird. I mean, it definitely wasn't like in the right order,
right?
But it worked.
Speaking, so you brought up that the having the kids like right after high school is kind of a conservative thing, which agree 100%. Have you always been more of a conservative person, or has your time like, I mean, because you worked on with Crowder, who's a very conservative commentator. What's it been like for you? I don't know. I don't want to say politically, but just socially and everything. How have you been throughout your life? Have you?
Yeah. Well, I always think about it like everyone says that we're waking people up with the red pill. You're getting out of the matrix and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I am not one of those. I'm not Neo. I'm not these people that they pulled out. I'm Tank. I was born outside of that matrix thing because my mom is super based. She is like, I was homeschooled because she didn't like the school system.
Oh.
She took me out in kindergarten. Like we did kindergarten for like a year, and then, or not a year, I think it was like half a year. And then we moved, and then we went to a different place, and it was a completely different kind of system. So she was like, yank, not doing that anymore. Very outside of the system. My whole family's like been the outcast almost kind of thing. Because my mom came from a really conservative Christian country family, and she's white. And my dad came from still Christian, but low income, like really low income, eating macaroni, like really low income, right?
Okay.
In the ghetto kind of thing. So he came from that kind of world, and somehow they worked at the same place and they met each other, but it's always been early on. It was a very kind of like, who are you? You're with this. Who is this guy? Is he going to run around on you? Is he going to leave you? Luckily they got to know my dad and they love him now.
Yeah.
But at first there was still this kind of, we don't fraternize with, like you can be friends with Black people or Mexicans or whatever, but like we don't marry them. It's weird to marry one.
Wow.
Like we don't hate them, but we just don't mix.
Yeah.
And my mom was like, fuck that. Like, cause she was always like rebellious, because my grandpa was very strict. Like he came from poverty in like Oklahoma when it was like he was really destitute. So when he had success, he was like, okay, well, we're going to like make sure this is locked down and you're going to do exactly what I tell you to do. And my mom, which is funny because they're very much similar, she was like, no, I'm not going to do that. She was very like hard-headed in that way. So I'm going to do whatever I want. And that kind of is, she's taught me that kind of like, don't just listen to authority because they say they're authority. Don't just listen to somebody that's older than you just because they're older than you. Like if you feel like it's something that's wrong, you should call it out. And I've always, from as long as I can remember, that has been like the teaching. It's like question authority, because people will manipulate you and they will lie to you and they will tell you to do stuff that you don't want to do, and you don't have to do it. So yeah, I've always been this kind of like outside of that kind of system, and we've had conversations throughout the years growing up. We always call them like fixing the world conversations. It'd be like 2 a.m. We're sitting there and we're just talking about the whatever the news is and the world and how we think things should be and how they aren't and how we would fix them and how we don't know how to fix them. And it just like, and this is like growing up, not when I was a little kid, but when I was like, young teenager throughout, even today, we'll stay. Like if I drive over to my parents' house, I will be stuck there having a conversation, which I love. For a long time, we'll be talking about stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm very on that track of being a conservative because my dad's a conservative and we came from that world.
Yep.
But not to the point of like, I'm only going to vote red. I'm only going to do like, I'm conservative in the sense of like, I like to be free and not have people tell me what to do. And my personal things is like, I would have liked to have gotten married, then had a baby, but I didn't because I can't control myself because I'm a teenager. But we loved each other and we were committed to each other. So we got married and then we took care of the kids. So there's like aspects of me that are conservative, but I don't think I would like label myself as a conservative because I'm very free for other people. Like if you want to live your life however the fuck you want to live it.
Right.
Like that's fine. I'm very like non-intervention. Don't tell me what to do. I won't tell you what to do. Let's just chill.
That makes sense.
Long-winded answer.
No, that's perfect. I found
mowing my lawn right now. Can you hear that?
Nope. Cannot.
Okay, good. Man, I got a good system.
The my relationship with my mom was kind of like that too. So like her and I had a very roller coaster ride of a relationship growing up.
Flawed, I see you.
Yeah. I do want to say I will pause real quick and I don't normally engage with the chat only because it's weird for people who are not in the live stream who will catch this on other ways. But welcome everybody, and we got a lot of great people in here today. I just want to say thank you for supporting both myself and Garrett.
But your mom.
But yeah, my mom and I are the same way. I love talking with my mom, and when I do, my mom lives in Connecticut, so I don't see her very much. But when I am there, like her and I will sit sometimes and just like talk. And
yeah,
her and I have deviated like sort of politically and socially in many regards. And some conversations have been difficult, but I always know that I could be like honest with her and just say, hey, like, and especially my stepdad. My stepdad has been like, I mean, he's like dad to me. He's very well read. He's always engaging in like new subject matters, and I really owe a lot to him for how I think about things a lot of time. But I mean, me personally, I feel way more like liberal than a lot of my liberal friends who would spout like that they're Democrats and they're liberal and everything and they're progressive. Yeah. I'm like, sure doesn't seem like it, because when I come up and ask you a question, you get really mad. Like you just like way out of control.
It's like the conservative right in the 90s. It's like it. And I don't even want to say it was the conservative right. Because even then there was like Tipper Gore that was trying to ban video games and comic books and stuff. So like even back then they had that kind of leaning. But yeah, like these days it is like you're not liberal because you don't want people to live their life.
Right.
You claim to, but you don't really mean that.
Yep.
You mean the people that you agree with.
Yeah, and since when does since when did classic values, like family values, like what, since when is that a bad thing? Taking care of your family and respecting your elders and like all this stuff that like when we grew up it was like on the wall like that.
Yeah, there was like that those are the rules.
Yeah.
And that's like the best way we figured out how to live, and it seemed to be working out for us.
Right. It's like we went from having the wheel, and then someone was like, you know what, the wheel's not right, let's make it a square.
That'll work.
It's...
And then they're like, if you say that the wheel is good in any way, we're going to ostracize you and we're going to throw you out of the camp.
Yeah.
It's like, what? Okay.
I have a whole video planned for this exchange I had with a friend from Hawaii. He has pretty severe Trump derangement. And like anytime I bring something up that like counters his sort of worldview, you would think that I was like threatening to chop off his arm. Like he starts getting all defensive and starts getting mad and starts like typing in all capitals. It's really weird.
Like, settle down, man.
But the point was to be like, this is, this is the issue. If I'm coming to you and asking you a question, how is this acceptable?
Yeah.
The subject matter was surrounding gender affirming care. And I was like, this is like, you're like torturing a kid if you're forcing them or coercing them to do this. And why is that your problem? I'm like, how is it not my problem? Like, even if it's not directly my problem, I should be able to fight against it if it's something I don't want. Like, it breaks my heart when I see a kid like getting hurt, or dying, or at the hands of trust, or they trust their adult parents, and then they somehow maim them, hurt them, kill them,
convince them to do something that later on that they could never reverse.
Yeah,
it's tragic. It's very sad. So it's like I'm not directly getting murdered when a murderer goes out and murders somebody, but I don't want him to do that. I want that to still be illegal. You can't just do that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's like that is a weird argument. They did the same argument for abortion and whatnot, where it's like, you have no say in this because it doesn't affect you. And I was like, well, some things it doesn't affect me directly, but I still think there should be things that are not allowed.
Right, and even like isn't there a case to be made, like in the case of like abortion? If we're out there talking, or if people are out there talking as a means to, like as a contraceptive, like aren't we eroding what it means like to be pregnant and to be like a potential parent? Like there has to be some longer term effect on society, and I think we're already at that point.
Yeah,
where people are like, it's just disposable.
Right. It is, and it should be treated as a very important thing that is happening. Like, you are making a life is being made inside of you right now. So like, that's not just a flippant, I'd rather like to have my weekends, or I want to have my career. Like, sorry, too bad, so sad. Like, you made a decision earlier that you could have not made that decision.
Right.
You could have tried to get around this, but like, now something is happening. It's a very important thing that's happening inside of you, and and like you just said, it lessens the importance of those things, and it makes like a woman somehow less powerful because they've lessened the importance of that. Like, women have fucking the most powerful thing inside of them. They make us. That's so crazy, right? Yeah. But we've not demonized it, but lessened its potency, so it's not as relevant. It's like, it's more impressive to see a woman out there sitting in a cubicle doing work for the man, than it is to see a woman give birth to children that they raise. Yeah, that is so backwards. It's crazy.
Yeah, and certainly when you see, so my second was born 15 weeks early from, just there's complications.
Wow. Preemie. I was a preemie.
Yeah.
Preemie bros.
Like, he's actually considered micro preemie. He was 25. He was born 25 weeks, 2 days. So for those who don't know, it takes 40 weeks to cook a baby.
Yeah. He's like coming out halfway almost.
Yeah. So when you see a baby at that stage come out and then develop, like first in the isolette and then with like all the tubes and stuff hooked up.
Right. Yeah.
It is, not kidding, a miracle that we're able to do something like that, because everything needs to go right. Everything. And there's nothing, if you looked at my son now, you'd be like, what? That kid was 15 weeks early. You wouldn't even know. Right. But I was lucky. There's kids getting sick all around, and they can't breathe. They're intubated. They're 1 year old. It's sad. But it's a miracle that we're able to
think about all the stuff. You look at that kid in the intubator, and he's got the wires and stuff and all these things. All of that is inside of every single woman.
Right.
Like, that's amazing. Yeah. And that should be like treated with more respect. And it's just not.
No, not even close. I mean, that's like some of my favorite like TikToks that I'll watch. This guy is like standing out. I think it's like in Nebraska somewhere, but he stands out with his signs just saying abortion is wrong or whatever. And people come up, and it's usually some like weird, like white dude that's like yelling at him and telling him he can't have an opinion. But he's very calm and collected and cool. but that's all he did. He's just like basically saying where we're at right now is we just don't appreciate life. You know, it's a life from the very moment that, you know, you get a pregnancy test, you say you're pregnant. I mean, that's a life. It's independent of mom. It needs mom, but it eventually will be, you know, off and on its way.
Being. It's already got its own little thing. They have dreams. They have hiccups. They have their own fingers and toes and all that stuff. So it's they're still people. You can't be calling them. And I've seen it. You know, I've seen it firsthand at some of these change my mind things where you talk to people and they will look you dead in the face and be like, yeah, all the way up till they're basically coming out. You can end it. I'm like, how can you have that? Like, that's some psychopath stuff.
You saw that.
Like, I can understand having a discussion about like the morning after pill and like super early stuff, which I don't personally. I think it is like once it's combined with the egg and you make a new gene.
Yep, it's there.
Like you made a new person already. It's a new person now. It just needs to be grown. But to have the argument all the way up to the, like, you're an insane person. Like, you should be watched. Like, I don't know. Like, that's the amount of disconnect between your own human species is insane at that point.
Have you seen that Bill Burr bit where he talks about, like, I think he was at Red Rocks actually, which is fairly close to me, in Utah. And he's like, it's like if you baked a cake and you put the batter in the pan and right before you stuck it in the oven, I took it and just chucked it across the floor. You'd be like, hey, why'd you do it? He's like, well, it's not a cake yet. It's like, well, this is what we mean.
It's going to be a cake.
It's going to be a cake. Like, you know, stop being a dumbass. It's just how it is. No, it's, I don't know. We're in a weird place in the world, and it makes
Sheep City. And what's up, my bro? Makes a good point. It is narcissism. We live in this society of me. So it is like, it's nothing to say, oh, well, I'll just shoot it down a tube and get back to my partying every weekend because that's what I love to do. You know, it's like, no, it's about them now. Yeah. Like, you made this next thing, and somebody did that for you, hopefully. And don't you want somebody to do that? Is to take care of you and make sure that you're okay. That is what you need to be doing. And if you're not prepared to do that, there's things that you could do to prevent it.
Several things.
A lot of things. Yeah. You could not have sex at all. You could have contraception. Like, all the different forms of that. Like, there's a lot to do, and they're like, none of those things are being taken into account. And it's like, no, you made the decision to do that, and now you have that, and that is the consequences. Now deal with those consequences.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think teaching that as early as possible. Like, you know, it was always joked about when I was younger, like, oh, abstinence. It's like, well, like it teaches you something, you know, with, you know, keeping, you know, not engaging in that right away, especially like knowing the consequences. If you do this and do it wrong, a human will pop up that you are now responsible for. And not just like, and for the guy, it's nothing, right? But like, the minute a woman learns that they're pregnant, I would say a majority of the time, even if it's over 60% of the time, a majority of the time, that woman's already developed an attachment to that being.
Yeah. I
mean, my wife, we had in between our first and second, we had a miscarriage. I think we were only, I want to say 10 weeks along. And then, you know, it happened, and we like that messed her up for a good while.
Yeah.
You know, and it's not easy because you're not like, you're in your head, you're like, oh my God, there's going to be another person on this planet because of something that, you know, because of the level of love that we had. But
I would say that number's higher. It's got to be higher. I think people that do have abortions or whatever, they are either they've tricked themselves into that situation, or they've been told externally that it's okay. There's got to be still a level of connection. There's so many stories that I've heard of women that do have them and that they regret them.
Yeah.
And there's the ones that say, they're out there and I'm like shouting my abortion and I've got all these things and I'm so proud of it. In like the quietest of quiet places, when you're alone and nobody's around, there's got to be still something there of you going, I ended that.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like that has got to be there. I mean, it's definitely not zero.
No, I think you're right. I think the majority of people are finding that connection, or at some point down the line, realizing they terminated a connection and they regret it. You know, and I
which
think,
is also tragic. It's a very sad thing that they put themselves into.
Yeah. I don't know. Steering away, that's a pretty heavy subject, but I am interested
I'm here for it, baby.
I am interested in, we talked a little bit about your career. You started off in the movies, and then when you left there, you were picked up. You picked up by Crowder. Can you tell me a little bit about that transition into to that, like how it sort of started?
Yeah. So I've worked my entire career since I was 16 in the entertainment industry, because movie theaters are technically entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
But towards the end of that, I was at that not a dead end job, because it was pretty good for the level I was at. Had benefits and all that jazz, but it was just soul crushing work, and I hated it every day. And my wife was like, "You gotta quit. I don't know what we're gonna do. We're gonna figure it out, but you got to get out of there, because it is not working." It was like affecting my mood.
Yeah,
I was very like, I don't know how much I was putting it out, but I was depressed, and I didn't figure that out until way later. When I got older and I knew what depression was. It wasn't like as severe as I've heard, some people, but it was definitely something.
Yeah.
A sadness of like, I don't know where I'm going. I don't know, because I'm a very creative person, but this isn't creative at all. But I've got kids and I don't know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I was in that spot. That was mentally, that was where I was like, I guess I'm going to do this horrible job every day for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Because I have to, there was like no other option. It was like, it was not like, oh, I'm just going to go fuck off and not do anything. Like, it was like, I've got kids. There's no other option. That is the option.
Yeah.
And then there was a summer, like I got out of college. I was still going to college actually while I was working at Crowder for the first little bit. But I was going there for like game design, and then I was like maybe animation or something else, and I was always trying to look for something in that, like in entertainment and making stuff and having that as my career, but I just didn't know. I didn't have any path planned how to get there. I just wanted to get there, but I didn't know. Yeah. So I was throwing out applications to different places, which is kind of funny because I threw out an application to Blaze back in the day. Never got a call back, by the way. Blaze never called me back. I mean, I guess they did. It just took...
It took a while.
7-8 years to do. So, and I just wasn't getting, I was like, I wanted to work at Leica Studios with the animation studio. And I was like trying so hard just to get into that industry, because it's so hard to get in there, because there's so many people that want to be there. And it's like, I will sweep the floors, bro. I'll take out the trash if I could just be there,
Yeah.
But, none of those things kind of came around. And then I was watching a show called Loud with Crowder. And I was watching that show as a fan, and I'd watched for a while. And my dad had a subscription to CRTV, which is the network that Crowder was on before the Blaze and CRTV came together. Mm-hmm. My dad had a subscription to their whatever, because he was a fan of Mark Levin.
Okay.
And I was watching Crowder's show through that, so not even my own account, because I couldn't afford it. I was watching the show, and then at the very end of the show, Steven and not gay Jared at the end, they were like, hey, it's just like the three of them, or the four of them at that point. And they're like, hey, we're expanding, we're making new stuff, so we want somebody that could video edit, and that could do Photoshop, and that could, set up a camera or something. And I was like, I don't know if I could do all those, but hey, I could do all those things. And I get a call. Yeah, just send it out there. At this point, because before I would tell my wife and my mom and be like, my dad, and be like, hey, I applied for this, and then I would never get anything back. So at this point, I was like, look, I'm just gonna do this. It was alone. I was alone by myself. It was like 12. Make this little CV. Send in my resume, probably never hear anything back. And I get a call. and he's like, "Hey, man, my name's Scott. I work with Louder Crowder." And I was like, "What?" And he was like, "Yeah, I'm looking here, and it says that you live XYZ, and that's not far from the studio. So would you be interested in like coming in for like a week or so?" And I was like, "Yes," but like inside I was like, "Yes," you know.
Yeah.
And so I came in for a week, and at that time I was doing full-time school, so like 40 plus hours of credited hours at college.
Yeah.
And then 40 actual hours. I think, yeah, it was 40 hours. But it's not really 40 hours. It's like 40 credit hours, which is actually longer than or shorter than that.
Yeah.
But I was doing 40 real hours at work at the same time. And they were like, "Hey, do you want to come in for a week in July?" So I went there. I used up all of my PTO. I had no PTO after that. I was like, I'm going out of town for a week. All right. I did this 1 week, came in. They were like so ragtag at that point. They had not fully built the little, because we were in a strip mall. So it was like a strip of like, you know, it's like a Papa John's,
laundromat,
you know, a restaurant on one end, and then it was a massage parlor.
Oh,
that they had purchased, like they had rented out, and they like gutted it, and they've been making it out, but it was like not fully done that whole week. And the computer that I was on was just screwing up constantly, and I was like, "Oh, this is my shot," you know, like I'm trying to get out of this horrible job. And like this computer is gonna screw me over because it kept like running super slow. It wasn't until the last day that I found out there was still the plastic. They had not taken the plastic off of the vents, so it was just overheating.
Yeah.
But it was a week, and they were like, "Oh, you were great. We'll let you know how it goes." I leave, don't get a call back, don't hear anything. I see that they hired somebody else, so I was like, I didn't watch the show at all. I was like, I'm like, fucking whatever. I was like, fuck, all right. And then Jared texted me in like September, and they're like, "Hey, we are down a person because we hired somebody and they didn't work out." I was like, well.
Right.
And he was like, "Hey, we're down a person, so we need some help. Would you be able to come in, for a while to do some extra stuff?" And I was like, "Yeah, get me the hell out of here." So I came in the winter of 2017.
Okay.
That I came in. We did the Christmas Carol film and all of that lead up stuff, and this was like at 5 days a week, Monday through Friday.
Wow.
At like 8 a.m. till as long as I could go, because I was like, "Hey, I want to do it. I want to help you guys out, but I've still got a job, and I start my job at 3 till 1 in the morning."
Oh wow. Yeah.
So they were like, "Okay, so you could work from 8 to 2:30, and I could drive 30 minutes to my other job, and then work 3 to 1 o'clock in the morning, drive 45 minutes to my home, go to sleep at like 3 in the morning, and then do it wake up, do it all over again." And I did that specific thing every single day. No days off. Didn't have any days off because they didn't link up. Every once in a while I'd have just one job.
Yeah.
But it was just constant. I did that for 3.5 months.
Wow.
Because I was so committed to not working because that was the only thing that was pushing me through. Yeah. I was like, all right, I'm not gonna work at that call center anymore. I'm not gonna work in that office. I'm not gonna do all that stuff. Because we worked at it was like a internal corporate call center thing for all of the different theaters across the country.
Mm-hmm.
And I worked so hard not to be there because I was like, all right, I've got in. I'm sweeping the floor. I'm taking out the trash at somewhere that is not a corporate job.
Yep. So this was just
yeah.
You were still not even guaranteed a job at the end of this. Like they were just like, we still need you as a filler till we find someone else. Was that the vibe you were getting?
It was like, hey, we're down a guy, and we'll see how it goes, but like you can come in and work until then.
Okay.
And it was just like, hey, when am I gonna get that like confirmation, like waiting for the confirmation.
Yeah.
And then Jared one day is like, hey, come in here. We go in the green screen room. And he's like, hey, how would you like to work full time for the show? And I was like, yes, I can remember it. I could picture it in my head when he said it. I was like, hell yeah. I was sitting on a bucket. That was how like haphazard the place. Like he was sitting on like an office chair that had no arms, and I was sitting on a white bucket turned upside down. I can remember it.
Knowing full well it could have gone the other way. Like this is me just getting the boot right now because they found someone.
Yeah.
I
didn't know. I didn't know what it was. Like,
yeah.
I feel like he would have told me a different way. Because Jared was really cool. But yeah, so I got that little conversation because it wasn't like a confirmation. It was just him going, "Are you interested?"
Okay.
He was like, "Are you interested in doing this?"
Yeah.
And so I was like, "Hell yeah!" So then it wasn't until later that I got a call from Steven where he officially was like, "You're coming on," and all that stuff. And I was like, so I could picture that too very vividly.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I'm officially out of here, and I told my manager, I was like, I ain't coming in no more. Like, I'm not doing it. And they were all like, my managers, they were cool guys, and they were like, oh, we don't want you to like leave suddenly like this because then you can't ever get rehired. And I'm like, I'm not ever applying again. Like, it ain't happening. But because I'm a cool guy, I came in because I knew all the other people were going to be more stressed because there'd be a person down. So I came in half-assed every day. The last 3 days that I came in,
yeah,
I just sat at my desk. I was like, looking around like, I'm out of here, man.
Right. Yeah. What
so yeah, that was my transition from that job to getting hired, and then it was just editing small stuff and coming in on the weekends to edit a Change My Mind. Like I edited the largest Change My Mind view wise, the one that has the balding white girl that's like fat. I can't remember what the topic was. The thumbnail is like there's like a bush,
pronouns and stuff. Yeah.
I think it was pronouns. Yeah.
Yep.
I edited that one. I brought my kids in on the weekend to edit that one. But yeah, and then at some point there was a sketch, and Steven was like, "Hey, when you want to be in the sketch?" And I was like, the whole time I was like, "When am I gonna get to do a sketch?" Because my whole life I've been like an actor kind of thing,
right?
In the wings waiting. And I was like, "Yes, I will do that."
I was gonna say, did you expect to? Like, I would imagine because you're the whole time in you're like wanting to leave your old job and just get something new, and this thing that you've been watching kind of opens up. You're like, hey, this is a chance. Like,
yeah.
Did you ever foresee it like working out to the thing it became? Like you were a personality on that show. Like every now and then. No. I
mean, I had like my own little plans of like I gotta get to the top. I gotta have my own show.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do it,
Yeah.
But I was very like, all right, I'm getting my foot in the door, and I'm not gonna overplay it. I'm gonna play it cool, do what needs to be done. It was very like, hey, what needs to be done, I'll do it. Like I need to edit something, I need to clean the back room, I need to get something ready for the show. Like I'm good.
Right.
So I was doing that kind of stuff. But yeah, I did not see the trajectory of what happened because. That was the fun years, the fun time, because it got dark after that. It was like falling out between like Sven and Jared and Aaron, the guys that were producing the show, and Steven, and somehow I dodged all that stuff because I wasn't really involved, and they didn't want to get me involved.
Right.
Like Jared and whatnot, they didn't want to get me involved because they had their own gripes, but it wasn't me, and they were like, we know that you have a family and whatnot, so we're not involving you. So I dodged all that stuff, but in that, it left literally only me. So a guy that's only been there for like 6 months is now the only employee aside from the sound guy.
Yeah.
It was just me. So I had to be like carrying the whole show for a few days, like a week.
Yeah.
We flew in Maddie, if you remember Too Cute Maddie.
Yep.
She was a lifesaver because we had already been talking to her to hire her on, but it was like still in negotiations and whatnot. And then all that happened, and it was like, all right, you got to get the fuck over here because like it's just this new guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then it was like, hey, Garrett, could you do TriCaster? And I was like, sure. You know, because I was still going, I'm getting there, you know?
Yeah.
So every opportunity, I was like, yeah, of course, I'll be on camera more. I'm fine with that. And it was really stressful because the TriCaster is a very confusing piece of equipment. And I'm still learning it to this day. If I got on there right now, I'd be like, oh boy, like it's so confusing. But yeah, that was a whole thing too. Oh yeah, and Abby, back in the day, Sound Girl, she came in. That was a little while after, but yeah. And now somehow I've tricked everyone into giving me my own show.
Yeah, I want to talk about that. Yeah, so you and Dave Landau have come up with your own show, which is called Normal World. Tell us a little bit about it and how it kind of came about.
So Normal World is a sketch comedy show that we really mostly Dave and some friends made. It was just a comedy sketch show, and it's like in the vein of Black Mirror meets. Like if Black Mirror had a sketch show, that's what this is. It's like weird things from reality that is just so crazy, and you kind of like satire that into a comedy sketch. And this new one that we are producing, it's going to be that, but along with that, a late night atmosphere. So there's like the both of us, and we're both hosting like a late night show kind of thing. So we're gonna have guests. We're gonna have not political topics necessarily, but every once in a while maybe. But trying to get more pop culture stuff in, because I was very much, when they came to me and was like, "Hey, do you want to be a part of this?" I was like, "Not if it's political. I don't want to talk about none of that."
Yeah.
Because they came to me. They came to me, baby. I didn't have to go to them. They came to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I got to be like, okay, look, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be like news, like, because there was like the school shooting, I think, or something that happened a few months ago. It wasn't this recent one, which I have a story for that one too. A personal story. Whatever it was, I was like, are we expected to be talking about stuff like that on this show? Because if so, I don't want to be doing that. Because I'm not the guy with the answers. I don't have the big, like, the right correct answer for everything. Like, I'm very smart and have a big bow tie, and I'm very smart. Now I was like, I told the CEO, like, to his face, I was like, bro, I'm retarded. You know this is what's going on, all right? So, like, I'm not gonna be that guy. And he was like, oh, I know. And he was like, you are retarded. But he was like, yeah, if we were looking for the next like Tucker Carlson or some kind of like political, like, we wouldn't be going to you, but we want you because we like you and Dave together, and you guys are funny, so that's what we want to do.
Yeah.
And we want you guys to make a show. Like, we don't have a plan for a show, and then we just like placing you in. They were like, we want you to get on board so you guys can make whatever show you want to make. So we just had our first creative meeting 2 days ago of like what the show is really going to be, like format wise and all that stuff.
So this is going to be you in studio and then like playing sketches like throughout it and stuff like that.
Yeah. So we're gonna be in studio. We're gonna be talking about like, current events, pop culture, maybe some news events that are happening, cutting to sketches during that. Have like not a super structured show, but something that has a little bit of freedom and set up punchline sketch kind of thing. We're still like, it's very jazz right now. We're not sure what it actually is yet, but we have kind of like an idea of what we want it to be.
Okay.
And then there was something that I came up with that I'm very proud about. I think my favorite idea is having a live musical performance.
Ooh.
Maybe not every episode, because that'd be too much.
Yeah.
But when it is right and we have somebody, like a good guest to come on, like Flodzilla.
Oh, shit.
have them perform their music, you know,
Yep.
because we collectively, we know a lot of people that do music, like Eric July. It'd be awesome to get Backwards to come and do a show.
Yeah.
Tom McDonald, he does, you know, he's a rapper. It'd be great to have him come out, and Flodzilla, and he knows a bunch of artists and bands and stuff, and it would just be something that no other show on this network is doing, and then no other show in the sphere is doing.
Yeah.
Is having some like a musical portion, so it'd be really cool to break that up. So yeah, we're gonna have a whole area set up in the studio. Like I told you before, this right now was supposed to be my interview time for the talk to the designers of the new set. I had to move it earlier, but yeah, right before this, I had a meeting with those guys, and they were showing me all the stuff that they're like, well, we're gonna put this here and that there, and dude, it's crazy. it's insane.
It's been pretty cool. Like, it's cool watching like people. I mean, I think you're a testament to like what hard work is all about, right? Like, it's not always what you want to do in the moment, but like, you have your career to think about, you have your family to think about, your kids, your wife, setting them up. And all the while, I think just being the genuine article has shown people like, this is who I am. This is what I need. You know, and then when things aren't, you know, when you suspect things are a little off, you're ready to either get out, or you're laying down the law. Like, hey, if this is political, like I have nothing to offer. I can't really do that. I was like, but if we're doing this route, I'd love to. So it's really cool to see that. I'm stoked. Like the sketch you guys did that one with the period. That was pretty
Man
wild.
Packs Pearl Harbors.
Yeah. And then I just watched someone, I don't know how I missed it, but the one you did with the kid comes out straight, or cis or whatever.
Oh yeah.
I was laughing so hard. Well, there's a part where you just like the music stops and you're like, passion fruit. And it was like, it wasn't, I don't know if it was meant to be a hilarious moment, but I laughed.
That was an ad lib.
So
I just did that in there.
hard. But it was just one of those like unexpected moments where I was just like, this is gold, man. And you guys have good chemistry. You have really good chemistry with
the whole team that we have going is so good. Like Bryce, the director of the whole thing, he is very funny, and he has a really good eye for what is funny in the edit. Mm-hmm. So, because that's a very different thing. It's like, you can be really funny in the day, or you could be really funny in the script.
Yep.
But you could give it to somebody that is not funny at all, and they cut it together like 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's it. But you need somebody that knows what is funny and what is the timing of things. Yeah. And Bryce is phenomenal at that. He's a very funny guy. So our whole team is so good.
I mean, even the quality of like the cinematography and everything in it just looks so professional. It doesn't look like something haphazardly thrown together. And even if it was that, like, you're already putting your best foot forward in your content, which, you know, I can't wait to see like what you guys do overall. Wild. If you ever need a straight white guy with long hair and a beard, you know where to
fly you over.
Yeah, I'm there.
I'm there.
But no, it's great, dude. I'm so like, I'm happy to know you. I'm happy to be able to support your ventures, man. And Dave is hilarious. He's a hilarious comedian.
Dave is hilarious. I love Dave. He's such a like low key dude too. Like, he's very kind, and like how vicious he can be on the stage. Outside of the stage, he's like the chillest dude. Like, he'll just, yeah, man, where do you guys want to go eat? I don't care. Like, wherever you guys want to go. And then he'll be like, all right, I'm paying for the whole thing. And I'm like, no, you can't do that. And he's like, I already did it. You know, he's just like so cool. He's got a good heart, that guy. So yeah, it's a wild thing. And then on top of that, I get to still work with the great Nerdrotic and work with that team, because I love those guys. And that was one thing when they came to me, I was like, look, there's not like a contract or any of this like thing, but it's like a social contract. I have committed my energy to helping Gary make shit. And I love that team there, and I don't want to leave that team. And they were that was something that they brought up every time. First, they were like, we don't want to seem like we're trying to take you away from what you're doing.
Good.
With Nerdrotic. we just want this to be along with that. So I've carved that all out in the negotiations and whatnot, but they were already on top of like, yeah, we want you to keep doing what you're doing.
That's cool.
I don't know. Thank you, God, like how I got to this point, but I'm waiting for the next shoe to drop. Something bad's about to happen because too many things are going good.
I know, right? Well, no,
like,
man.
I will think it be?
But hasn't the bad things happened? Like maybe that's it. Maybe the bad things happened. You went through your rough patches. You forgot your wife at the airport. Like maybe that was it.
Damn, you got to bring that up. Okay, all right.
So I'm not gonna let you live it. No, I figured you already told that story live on,
Dude, it was
on my
so
other
rough.
show, so it's okay.
I told you the story first. It was you got the exclusive.
That was the exclusive. Early. That was pretty sweet.
Yeah.
And then it was funny. I super chatted Gary during Friday Night Tights, and I made sure to drop that again. I think you were out of the room when he read it or something, though. But it was pretty funny.
Just wait for him to come back.
But no, it's well, I forgot where my head was going with that, but it. I was gonna say it's good to see that, because I think big companies like the Blaze, it's easy to talk shit about them, saying like, oh, they're part of the problem, they have their own shit, but like,
trust me, yeah.
But hearing that and I'm sure they do, but it is nice to know.
No, I was saying the same things. I was like, I don't know about the Blaze because I've worked with them in the past, and I've had issues with them in the past for certain things, so I understand that 100%.
Yeah,
but I having discussions with the CEOs of the Blaze and what they want this to be really kind of made me feel a whole lot better about the whole thing. Because and this was like a long process of them being like, hey, do you want to be in the show? And then Dave was like, hey, do you want to be in the show? And I was like, yeah, but like, I don't know. It was like a long process because I was very much like, I don't know if I want to be on a political channel.
Right.
Because like, what do they want me to talk about? But I feel like they're going in a new direction. Okay. I'm seeing some of the stuff that they're going to come out with, and the discussions that they've been having is like they're pivoting a little bit. I don't think they'll ever pivot from like Glenn Beck news,
right? But
they want to do more. They want to do other things. They don't want to be known just as this like political only studio, network. So that's what's exciting, at least for me. Yeah.
Well, and not for nothing, but like it is like this is just another like foothold for you in your career. Like this is sort of new ground because this is your baby. You don't have to answer to anyone. I mean, it's you and Dave, and then you're in your team, and then if for some reason this didn't work out, again, it's just a foothold to the next big thing that you could do, and who knows where that may be. But I mean, you and I have talked before. You guys on FNT talk about it all the time about the need for change in entertainment. Like this is how you do it, right?
Yep.
Between, you make your own comic, you make your own TV show, your own movie, TV series, whatever it is. Like this is the next little foothold for you. And I mean, you're climbing the mountain, man. You're getting there piece by piece, clawing your way.
Eventually. There's been some lows and some highs, but I'm pretty high right now.
Dude.
Bro, so high right now. But it's crazy. So like, what a perfect time to come out with a late night show when literally every other late night show is on pause because of the writer's strike.
Yep. Well, so what time is it going to be? So it's going to be a live show on the YouTube channel is where it's going to be?
We have a YouTube channel. Subscribe to normalworld.com. Take you right there. Boom, get over there. It's going to be live on the YouTube 3 times a week. We haven't figured out which ones yet, what days. 3 episodes a week on our YouTube channel, and we're going up against the late nights. So it's going to be coming out, at like 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Central. We haven't figured it out yet, but we're aiming for that kind of slot.
Okay.
And I'm kind of gearing towards a Saturday show. Ooh. So like two episodes during the week and then 1 Saturday show. Okay. So we're going up against late night and Saturday Night Live, like directly going like Saturday Night Live. Like we're going after you. So I think
That's
that's my plan.
I'm excited for your show too, because I think there's like, because my wife's pretty normy when it comes to things. Like, she's not really plugged into like culture war stuff or she hates politics.
Yeah.
But
She's
this seems
sane.
like a show that we could watch and she'd be like, okay, I get it. Like, this is, you know what I mean? Like,
That is what I want. I want it to not. I want it to be the place where you could go, and it's not a political. Like, even though it's like Blaze TV has something like a stigma about it being like a conservative political talk network. I want to change that. I want this show to be a thing that's like we can get on people that we don't agree with, but that are cool.
Yeah.
And we can chill. It's not like I'm not inviting you to come on so we can have a debate about whatever. Like, we're just gonna come over. You're gonna chill. We're gonna have, we're gonna throw some weird stuff at you. Crazy sketches that are like all over the place. Like, we did that creative meeting, and we've had some really interesting sketch ideas come out of that. All over the place. Like, you're not even gonna know. And then having guests on that are diverse, but in the good way.
Right.
Where it's different types of people. So anybody could come to that show. Like you said, like your wife could tune in and be like, I'm not going to watch one point of view spouting and yelling at me the whole entire episode. It's going to be a chill place to be.
Right. I think too, like having comedians be in this sort of commentary space, whether it's like, like you guys doing sketch comedy stuff or, making light of a lot of the issues that are happening is important, because comedy, even though it's been vilified by the left a lot of times, for the most part, everybody can get down with comedy. Like the Chrissy Mayer joke that she did about, trans jokes having, the best parts cut out. Yeah. I told that to my wife and she was like she laughed, like she couldn't believe, like, she's like, whoa, that's like, I'm like, yeah, but it's funny. Like, because
dude, some Landwells walked out on her show.
I heard.
Dude, it was awesome. And Chrissy handled it so well. Like, I think after she didn't know if she like handled it, I was like, dude, they were perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, she made some joke. I think it was like a Dylan Mulvaney. Why doesn't he have tits yet? Like, it's why, just go do it.
Yeah.
And like, why? And then somebody in the crowd said, because he's a dude. And then she was like, yeah, it's a man. That's not a man. It's a woman. She's a woman. Oh, and then they stewed there.
Oh man.
They stewed there for, the dude was like, cause he's a dude, and she was right behind him, and she was like, no, it's a woman. She's a woman, and they sat there and they were like, should we leave? And then they just got up and left. And then as they were walking out, they got to the door, opened the door. All the Landwells walked out. There was one blue-haired one left, and she was like, she was like, fuck transphobes. And then everybody started booing her. And like,
oh my God, dude.
It was funny. And then, yeah, Chrissy was great though. She handled it really well.
I don't get,
like,
I don't get
it
people.
Was not even it wasn't even like that bad of a joke. It was just like, just have some fun. Okay.
Right.
Like, people don't like you if you're not having fun. All right. Just have some fun.
Well, and there's a level of like, you have to take the show in its entirety, right? Because Chrissy can be self-deprecating, like to herself, like she'll poke fun at herself and poke fun at straight people,
right?
Trans,
yeah, everybody. And then the one time they poke you get all mad about it,
right?
So that's something we want to do with this show too. Is we're not going to make fun of conservatives. Like, we're definitely going to be making fun of some conservatives because they need to be made fun of as well, because they get kind of corny sometimes.
Yes.
I said that on somebody's show. I think it was Adam's show or something, and people got mad. They were like, "Oh, well, you're making fun of conservatives, but everybody makes fun of conservatives." I'm like, dude, but settle down, dude. Like, you got to be able to take a joke. If you can't take a joke, as long as it's not like mean-spirited.
Yeah,
which we're not doing anything out of a mean spirit.
Right.
It's all out of trying to be funny, and making people laugh. So if you can't take a joke to yourself, like, you're the problem.
No, I agree. And I the more I continue to be on Twitter and I look at both sides of the equation, the more obvious it is. Like, they're just kind of the two sides of the same coin, liberals and conservatives. Yeah. And a lot of times that, conservatives make just the same exact mistakes that liberals are making. And it's exhausting because you're like, this is common sense. You don't need to say that. That's dumb, corny. What, you know what I mean? Like just, and I think, and it sucks that libertarianism has such a bad name for whatever reason, because I guess they just don't win elections. But like, if more people just minded their own business and realized, like, even if I can mind my own business, but also comment on something that's happening, and like, because it's valid. Like, I want society to succeed, and I think if they do this thing, it won't, or it'll spread bad culture, and it could have a ripple effect across generations.
Yeah, like you said, they're the same coin, because the right has I wouldn't say just as much, but they still have that tendency to be like, believe in the message.
Yeah.
If you go outside of that message, you're hurting the cause or whatever it is. Like, and I hate that. Since I was a kid, I don't like people telling me what to do. Yeah. So if I'm gonna say something, I don't care what who's gonna offend. That's just how I feel. And that I see that in the pop culture sphere just as much.
Yeah.
I see it just as much. When you come out and you say you like Star Trek, people get mad at you.
Yeah.
Because they're like, you're hurting the cause and you're doing all this. And it's like, bro, like, I got to be honest, Yeah. I got to, like, there's always somebody that will say, why are you giving them money? Or now that you like the Guardians of the Galaxy, your opinion is completely, thrown off or whatever. And they get mad about it. And it's like, well, because it is a team thing now. It's like you're going against the team. You thought we were on the same team. I'm like, I ain't on nobody's team, bro. I'm on my team. Like,
it's tribalism.
I like you. I like you. I like hanging out with everybody, but like, I'm not anybody. I'm not on some like big team.
Yeah.
I'm on the team of chill the fuck out. That's what I'm on.
I agree. I'm right there with you, man. Like I think about it a lot when I see, like, I don't care what people think about my choice in movies. Just like I don't care that sometimes I wear a man bun. That's why I don't care. I like pineapple on pizza.
Yeah, bro.
Because at the end of the day,
lost me.
No, I don't care, because at the end of the day, I'm just chilling. I'm on team chill the fuck out, like you said. Like I'm on the
chill the fuck out.
Yeah, and I want, like, there's some movies that are not good that I just enjoy because they're fun, or like the most crap I get is from Sheep City, and a lot of times is because I had a poster. I had the Into the Spider-Verse poster on my wall for the longest time. But
why would he have a problem with that?
Well, because the tokenized Miles Morales and all that.
I love that movie.
Well, and that's I always tell him. I always tell him, I say, listen, I have a huge connection with that film with my son. I'm grilling Shags harder than they grill his but there's a big connection with that movie with my older boy. Like, we would watch it all the time. I love the sort of father-son relationship between
I'm
Peter
a sucker
Parker
for a good father-son story.
Yeah. It's a great, like, that movie was entertaining, and it touched me in a way that, like, makes me feel good. But it's a hard thing to say sometimes, because people are like, oh, that's a bad movie. I'm like, I understand where you're coming from, and I can criticize the character of Miles Morales for
I feel like they improved Miles Morales in that movie.
I agree.
They set him apart from Peter. He's got a very different life, a very different kind of origin. So, like, even though he started off as a tokenized version of Spider-Man, they improved upon his character and made him much, much better.
Right.
So it's like, you can do that. You can have tokenized versions, but if they're enough set apart from the original, that's what you got to have. It's not necessarily just that he's a Spider-Man as well. It's like he's a very different Spider-Man, at least in this movie. I didn't read any of his comics.
Yeah. And also, just like from a general, like, filmmaking point of view, I just thought it was a beautifully done.
Oh, dude, it's animated so well. Like, I said, I went to college for animation. I love animation. I'm a fucking huge fan of animation. So watching that movie is like, they had all different types of techniques, and like 2D, 3D, like different frame rates, and how they animated things. And it was so cool. So cool to see. So yeah, I love that movie. Sheep, come on. What's wrong with you?
I've been trying to teach myself. So yesterday I made a meme video, because there was like this talk about border walls in Jordan. And like, as I was watching it, I'm like, I bet I could edit this into like a meme. So I like spliced in some Homelander like freaking out like clips, and it was a fun exercise, because I don't do that stuff. Legion of Memers, they handle it.
Yeah.
I've been video editing for many years, but it's like it's something I'm like casually doing, right?
Yeah, yeah. It's like a hobby.
Yeah, but I've been trying to teach myself um like how to edit different techniques and uh rotoscoping and all
Hmm.
that stuff because I don't know, like when you're a smaller channel, you have to sort of navigate your own way until you
Yeah,
can.
you got to do it all yourself.
Right. And it's fun, but like I'm trying to just do a little bit at a time because it's very there's so much stuff you can do with this software. And I've been
Yeah.
using DaVinci, which is like the free
Oh yeah.
video editor, which works great. Um but oh, like and then watching what other people are capable of, I'm like it's demoralizing sometimes. So, watch the
I
stuff that
have
you edit
yeah.
and I'm like,
I do the same thing.
how do you do that?
Yeah,
But
well, I look at like Perry Chan. I'm like, how do you do that? Like
yeah.
it's so much more polished.
Yep.
So it's just like doing it. It's a repetition. Doing it over and over and over and over and over. Like I learned so much more about editing the year and a half with Gary than I did the whole 5 years with Loud with Crowder because that was a
Really?
different style of editing. That was like, oh, change my mind. It's a very like a show that's like 1 2 3 camera wise you're just picking camera angles really,
Okay.
or you're putting together a package like a remote package, or you went somewhere, you did something, and now you're trying to make a little documentary about it.
Yeah.
But the style that Gary does is like completely different. You're throwing in your own memes and you're making stuff and you're doing transitions in between to like an article and back from an article to a meme, from a meme to his face, and then back and forth. So like I've learned so much more about that style of editing and different techniques on transitions doing that because it's so much more involved than any of the other edit I've done.
Well, you were saying earlier too, like a good, like someone who knows comedy can like take something that's not necessarily funny and cut it in a way that
Right, yeah,
makes it
yeah.
funny. And the same thing goes for like so the video I did the other day, I put out it it's just me sitting at my desk talking, but like with different like scaling the video a little bit here and there and giving it a little
Yep.
motion,
Yep.
it totally transforms like what you do and you don't think of
Makes
that's
it
not something you.
dynamic.
Yeah, there it is. That it makes it dynamic, and even when I was putting in like my Homelander clips for the meme last night, like and it was to do the repetition thing, right? It was like,
Yeah.
okay, here's a little news clip, let's make it funny, and it took I mean, I think I worked on it for maybe 2 hours. Like I didn't put a whole lot of time into it, but it was enough where I was like, okay, I've changed this enough, and even
Yeah.
like there's that clip of Homelander sitting watching the like the movie
The
screen, and he's
screen, yeah.
yeah, and I kept it normal at first, and then I went back. I'm like, this doesn't like. There's no tension rising here, and then all I did was like scaled it a little bit.
Yep.
Over,
You give it a little bit of like a zoom in.
yeah, and it
Yeah.
totally changed.
Or a smash cut to like a closer picture of their face or something like that. Yeah. There's things that you can do that emphasize little phrases or something like that like makes things more funny.
Yeah,
And sometimes it's really the difference is the timing of something, like a few frames here, or zooming in on something very fast, or cutting right to it. Like that'll make the joke. Otherwise, it'll be like, oh, that was okay.
yeah,
But those are the kind of things that I've learned more about because I did a little bit of it over the years, making sketches and stuff. But this is a very more like focused on fast paced joke, 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 joke.
yeah.
You know.
So is
Like
it?
I think my favorite one was the Mandalorian, the first Mandalorian review that Gary did.
Oh yeah,
That was my favorite I think I've ever edited for the channel because it was just so like fast paced. It was like Gary was like on point with all of his points, and then I had a bunch of funny things to like throw in there on top of that, and it was like high impact, high rate of jokes. I think was able, but you have to like then you're building up as a memer, and I know you guys in the chat, you know what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
You're building up this like Rolodex of memes in your head. So when you see somebody say something, you're like, oh, I could put that there. I could put that there. I could change a meme to make it fit this scenario, like right here, So it's like all about building up that Rolodex in your head.
So would you say like a lot of your like career has been sort of, I mean, not fake it till you make it, but do you think you sort of like you put that on to be like, Yeah, I can do that. And then you just figured
You
it
figure it
out
out.
as
Yeah,
it came along.
exactly. Yeah, like even back when I applied for the job at LWC, it was like I made videos as a hobby randomly. Like I had a couple of old YouTube channels, and I've always edited, but I've never done it, professionally.
Hmm.
So it was very much like I'm gonna get my foot in the door, and then I'm just gonna do whatever I need to do, and I'll learn whatever I need to learn and get to that point. I think the thing I was going for before, it was too much of, okay, well, I've got to plan out, like I got to go to college to go get a game design degree or an animation degree, and then I've got to find a job so I could be like, hey, I know these things. But like the way I did it was just so, like, I fought my way through it and
Yep.
just figured it out.
Yeah.
Like if I went to school for TriCast or whatever, I would have spent so much more time and money and probably never would have found a job. It would have been really hard to find that kind of job, but somehow I did it. I don't know.
Yeah. I've noticed like with my own stuff recently because I go through these like waves of like, okay, I know what I'm doing, and then all of a
Mhm.
sudden it's like, no, you don't, you suck.
Yeah, you don't
And
know what
then
you're doing.
yeah, and I even this show, like this is how I know I really love this show. Doing this is because over the 4 episodes that I've done, I've changed the thumbnail I think 3 or 4 times. I've changed the intro a couple of
Yeah,
times, and like so I'm always just trying to like iterate on it to you know to make it a little bit better because I can't spend 8 hours a day trying to figure out the pieces. And I don't
right.
even think that's the right way to learn. It's just about sitting down in the chair, having the conversation, and
And
then like,
doing it.
okay, what did I do? And like on the fly, like I'll make notes, like, oh, change
Mhm.
this or don't ask that next time, or maybe clip that out or something. Like
Yeah, yeah.
and that's how I
You're
know, like,
developing it as you go. As
yeah.
you go, you're figuring it out. Yeah. I think
So
that's natural to do it that way. There's a part of me with this new show is kind of like I want to overplan it and figure out the exact format of what it's going to look like and be like, what are all the jokes? How many jokes do we want in the first segment, and how do we want the second segment to be? Do we want it to be like a guest segment? Do we want blah 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 blah? Right? And then I kind of have to just go like, look, let's just do it. Let's just roll with it, and the format will come out as it comes out, and we'll change what we need to change. We'll figure stuff out.
right.
So yeah, there's where you can get like locked into trying to overplan everything.
Yeah. I've realized, I mean, at least in my point here is like, and I guess to you to an extent, because you have a lot of stuff going on,
Hmm.
but I have my 40-hour a week job, then I have family, and then it's like, okay,
That's
when
already
kids
a
go to
lot.
bed, and so I'm always, so like my whole day is, okay, I have a bunch of properties I got to manage, and then I got to
Hmm.
make sure I get the kids on time. And then throughout the day, I'm making notes of like, okay, what could I do? Like, what would be a good topic to talk about? Okay, that. No,
Yep.
I don't like that. And then what games do I want to play? Do I even want to play games? It's
Yeah.
it's exhausting, but overcoming each little obstacle, like the 2 videos I put out recently, I was pretty proud of, and just like I'm happy I did them and got it done.
Yeah.
Um, because I mean, this channel has grown from the midweek hump. Like we every Wednesday night, it's the place to be. Uh,
Yeah.
that's always been the goal. Is like, let's take FNT. Let's put it in the middle of the week. Let's break the week up for people so they have something to look forward to at different points. Like
Yeah.
let's make it the spot, and then but then it's like, okay, now I'm locked into that. How do I show people I'm not just that, I'm these other things too.
Yeah.
It's so it's a total like ongoing process, but it's one of the best journeys I've ever put myself on, because I put myself out there and say, hey, I would love to talk to you, or I would love to be a part of something. And if not, that's cool, because I still have all this other stuff
Yeah.
going.
Yeah.
And the main focus is always is my personal life, is keeping the family together, providing for the family, and then everything else after that
Yeah.
is, I just love being here. So let me be here. And so far, it's been good, man. It's been
Yeah. I feel that too. It's like going back to what we were saying is like trying every time I overplan something, it doesn't work. Like it's never worked. when I just go with the flow and I just ride the wave as wherever it takes me, it's always worked out.
Yep. And I think
just try not to be stressed about things. And I'm not usually a stressed person. I'm like usually like a super laid back. And like my wife is the stressed one that's like, hey, we got to plan out this trip and stuff. And I'm like, no, let's just get in the car and drive to Denver and we'll figure out what happens. And it was like the best trip we ever had. And we didn't plan a single thing. Like we didn't have a hotel room, nothing. We just got in the car, drove, and it turned out amazing. We like stayed up in the mountains because we got an Airbnb and it was super awesome. And it was so cool. So it's like, just let things happen as they happen and lay back and let it go.
Yeah, it's true. And what I find, and this is something I just have to practice what I preach. What I find is when I say this is what I'm going to do, bang, 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 I never reach those things. But when I'm going with the flow, like you said, and just, okay, I don't want to cover that because I have to cover it. I want to cover it because like I feel I have something good to say about it.
Yeah.
Then everything feels more natural. And I don't know. I'm being more true to my audience. If I'm just trying to like max out content for the week because I think that's what is required of me, by the third or fourth video, it's going to feel like, oh, he does not want to be here. It's rushed. It doesn't look good.
He's just doing the same thing every day because that's what gets clicks. And yeah, I don't want to be that kind of person. No, I don't want to make that kind of thing. And that's one of the reasons in 2020, I was like, I'm done doing that. I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to talk about the same person every single day. Because it's just boring. Like I don't want to do that.
Right.
Well, it got to the point where it was like soul crushing again. And I was like, hey, wait a second. This is not supposed to be that. This is supposed to be the fun job.
Yeah.
So I just like,
myself. I was going to ask you about that because I was going to say, like, what was it that sort of like pulled you away from that? And it was just sort of it was just a lack of joy in it anymore. You're feeling
like my heart was gone. My heart was out of it. I was just not. And I loved everybody on the team. And I was like, I don't want to be the one guy that's like dragging his feet everywhere and holding down the team because I don't want to do it anymore, And they wanted me to stay, and they offered me more money, and they wanted to be like, hey, what do you want to change about the way we do things? And I was like, nothing, because the things I would change literally the entire show. It wouldn't be that show anymore, So I'm like, and I want you guys to do the show that you want to do. I'm just gonna not do that anymore.
Yeah.
So I think I left in like the best kind of way. That show is pretty notorious at this point for big blow up and weird drama stuff for people leaving. But somehow I was able to chess move my way out of there and not have it be dramatic.
Seems like you leave your ego out of things a lot, which is not something many people can say. Like you're able to leave it at the door, and like, I mean, you weren't involved in the drama originally. And I think that was, I think, a lot because you were new, but it doesn't seem like it was very, I mean, you were trying to leave behind drama and bullshit that, I'm here to work and I'm here to advance my career. And that's what I want to do. And I'm not going to step in the shit. And I would imagine, I'm, obviously just guessing, but when you leave your ego at the door, you're able to sort of navigate things a little bit more impartially and realize like, this isn't my show. Like you said, if I could change something, you wouldn't have your show anymore. It would be the Quarter Black show.
It would be the Quarter Black show, and it would just not be anything that you're doing. So, I want you to do the thing you're doing. So I'm gonna leave. So it worked out, and then we're still had a cordial relationship for a while. I don't know how that's working out now,
right?
Anymore. It's gotten a little weird because of Dave, but not Dave's fault. I'll say that. It wasn't Dave's fault.
Yeah.
The ball's in their court. I'll say that. I will say I was supposed to be on, and then I was canceled.
Oh.
They cut my episodes. So, hey, look, relationship is how it is. I'm cool with whatever. If you guys want to be cool, but they're not cool. So that's a whole nother thing. And like, I could get all into drama and other stuff and shit that I know, and
right.
But I don't. because I don't care about that. I hate drama. Drama is gay. Drama is so stupid.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be a part of any of that crap. So I just like, and a lot of people think it's because I'm like under an NDA or whatever it is. I'm like, no, it's because I just don't want to get involved in some dramatic stuff, like whatever.
No, this is not me. I wasn't farming for drama at all.
Oh, I went there. I went there, bro.
But no, and I think that's more people need to learn that. Again, I think it's about leaving the ego at the door, because I have my criticisms of Louder with Crowder, but like it's one of those things where like I think I made a video a couple of weeks ago, but it was just like, I don't know most of the stuff that goes on. As an outsider looking in, it is what it is. It all, I think drama is stupid. I think we're all adults at this point. Like, I know every single person is an adult that, between you and them, it's like, there's no reason to have the petty drama. But some people, that's just what they thrive on. And you're killing it, so it doesn't even matter. You got your own stuff going on. You've worked your way up. You've done what you needed to do. And and it's good you still leave the door open. Like, hey, man, I'm still open for a conversation. I'm still open to be around.
I mean, right now it's a little over dramatic and right now, but like in a few months, I'd totally be cool to like jump on and do a show again and do a sketch and whatever. But yeah, other people are very dramatic.
Yeah,
they get dramatic. It happens. It happens. But yeah, like just be an adult and don't be dramatic. It's cool.
Well, this is a good place to sort of, again, these are the hardest parts of these shows.
The beginning and the end.
Beginning and the end. Because it's not necessarily the end. We do have a little bit of a segment we're going to do right after this, because there is a question I want to prod Garrett with. I just like prodding Garrett. God. Anyways,
nervous drink.
But I want to thank everybody who's showed up on YouTube today. If you're a paid member on Locals, you can go over and actually continue watching this. Or if you want to become a paid member on Locals, you can go to the link in the bio. Otherwise, it'll be available in the next day or two once I get down to extracting it and posting it on there if you want to watch the VOD. I do have plans to start carrying over members from YouTube to Locals, but I'm doing it as a Locals exclusive because sometimes we do touch on things that YouTube doesn't like, and I don't want to get a strike because they're dumb. So please consider supporting over there. Like I said, I'm looking to sort of bridge the gap between people who are members on YouTube and just you can like gift people memberships over on Locals as well. So, but Garrett, thank you so much for joining us today. When does New World drop officially?
Normal World.
Normal World. Gosh.
Got you. Actually, we don't even know, dude. It's like they asked me that same question on a panel on Blaze. Like I saw it in the script. It was like, "Hey, we're gonna ask you this question," and I was like, "Are you gonna tell me when this show's starting? Am I the one telling you?" But I think we're shooting for mid-June. Is the general area, and 3 episodes a week. Not sure which yet, but 3 episodes a week in mid-June. Okay. And we're dropping sketches along the way. So if you haven't already, you can go subscribe to Normal World, where you're gonna see those sketches come down.
And I'm gonna drop the link here, but it is in the description. But if you can't be bothered to do that, there is the link for Normal World. So get over there, subscribe to the channel, and get ready to laugh your ass off, because there's one clip on there now. Mm-hmm. Is that Alex Stein?
That's Alex Stein and Ian Crossland, me, Dave. There was a lot of people we got in that. It was a lot. Freaking Alex was so good in that.
Well, it turned out I didn't realize him at first.
Oh yeah, he just like sunk right into that character. It's perfect.
A little scary.
True actor. Yeah, a little bit.
But anyways, that's going to do it for us here. If you want, catch us over on Locals for a little bit. Otherwise, we'll see you guys next Tuesday, 2 p.m. Mountain Time. And that's going to do it. See you guys later. Let's roll them credits. Thank our beautiful supporters. Later.